Welcome to Cryptic Accounts, a podcast by paranoid people for paranoid people. I'm your host for the week, Dennis Cheney, and this week we have the Navy UFO Patents and the mysterious Dr. Pais. I'm joined, as always, by my life partner, Patrick Ryan. How are you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing good, life partner. Oh, if only we could be
Co-
together. If only we could be together.
Co-host. It's this distance is bringing us closer together.
Yeah, that's what you tell yourself. Is that ever really true?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wait, so
We'll
what
see.
are we doing this week?
The Navy UFO Patents and the mysterious Dr. Pais.
So you're gonna leave me hanging on Genesis and all that.
Yeah, I knew I would catch. I knew I would catch some flack for doing a part one and then changing it up. Yeah,
I was already like, man, it's a bad idea that we're like skipping this and not just. We should have just done it all in one shot. I know the research wasn't completely done yet.
We'll do part 2 of Genesis Revisited on my next show, which will be
So
2 weeks.
More weeks. Man, if you put that togetger sooner, I'm down to record that sooner. We can put it out as a book.
Yeah, we could put it out as a special episode.
We're gonna definitely need a recap. We're gonna say for the listener, we're gonna need a recap.
Yeah, you're right. That's on me. As usual, you know how we start on one thing and end up on another thing.
I'm not upset about where we're going. Let's be clear about that. I'm not mad at I really wanted to hear the rest of the Genesis revisit. I'll get over it. I'm okay.
I know, and the second part is going to be probably longer than the first part. But
that'll be nice. I did enjoy that. Was a fun bit of research you were doing.
Yeah, it is fun. I haven't been able to get through the rest of the book yet, and I want to do a good job. And I got sucked into this Navy UFO patent thing because there was some news about it this week.
There was. That's why I'm not upset that we're going that direction, because this is something that I haven't read into enough yet, and I'm kind of glad that you're going to basically school me on it real quick. That way I don't have to.
Yep, real quick.
You can just tell me what's going on.
And I guess we better acknowledge, since we made a big deal of it last week, that Super Bowl didn't go quite as we thought it would.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that.
We don't have to talk about it. In fact, I'd rather not talk about it. But I can't pretend like we didn't show up in jerseys last week.
Oh man, the refs were the real MVPs last night.
They were. Maybe I'm still gonna do that sports conspiracy show. Maybe we'll have.
Well, this is a few days ago, as everybody's hearing that. I'm sorry, we're recording this on Monday.
Yeah, well, I'm still gonna do the sports conspiracy show eventually, and maybe by then we'll.
Chiefs fans are still gonna be upset about it on Wednesday, though, so it'll be
Oh, we're gonna be mad.
This will land the same.
I'm gonna be mad till we win another one. So anyway, this isn't a sports show, but I thought I'd bring it up since we talked about it last week. So you ready to get into this, my man?
I am.
Okay, so this week there was some news, and I had heard about this dripping out for the last couple years, what they call the Navy UFO patents. And I'm actually going to start back around the time that the show was just a little embryo. It was an idea in our heads at January 22nd, 2020.
Oh, January 2nd, or January 22nd, 2020. Is that what you said? Or January 2nd?
January 22nd. It doesn't really matter. It's January of 2020.
No, yeah, I was heavily researching coronavirus and already getting spooked. Everybody's like, "Why are you getting masks?" I'm like, "Just listen."
Oh yeah, you were on top of that. You had hoarded everything.
I started I'd already gotten like food and stuff stocked up. Like once I saw what was happening to China, I was like, "Oh no!" Like I was like, "This is
that's kind of
bad."
We had wanted to do this show for a while since we had our old podcast, which, by the way, thanks to whoever in the world is downloading our 5-year-old episodes.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad we're finally talking about it. Yes, I'm assuming people that are listening to this show have gone and sought us out through Facebook and other ways that have
I just
found
want more content.
the
They
older
found
podcast.
yeah. But we wanted to do this show since that show ended, but
Well,
coronavirus
that show. I mean, what's up of that show?
slowly became basically
Was basically this,
the
but
prototype.
a lot more jokey version of this, basically, of us kind of poking fun at more weird stuff.
Yeah, it started innocently enough when we started doing a weird news section of the show, and then it just spiraled into our lives
That
as we
became the
know them
whole
now.
show, and then it was eventually like, this isn't the show we started out as. Maybe that should be a separate thing.
Yeah, there we
And then
are.
this thing happened.
So this story's kind of flown under the radar.
But yeah, no, I'm glad people. Before we move on, I am glad people are going back and finding that. It is fun seeing the numbers on that show suddenly light back up again.
I know. I remember that I was on our account, and I was just like, "What in the world is happening?" Yeah, there's
got
some
a huge
weeks.
surge in the last few months for no apparent reason on a show we haven't done in like 2 years.
I know, 2 or 3 years.
I was 3 years now almost.
It's going on 3 and 4. So this patent, this is kind of going to tie into our third, I believe, episode of this show where I did the U.S. Invention Secrecy Act. Basically,
that was a good show. That was a good episode. That was one of the early ones. If you didn't listen to that one, definitely go back and find that one.
Yeah, I want to revisit that eventually because this kind of re-sparked my interest in it.
I feel like the whole first year of this show has just been stuff that we're going to revisit, and this is our 1 year. We didn't. You're not even going to say anything.
Oh my gosh, this is our 1 year anniversary show.
This is the 1 year anniversary.
We made it.
We did. We stayed together. We did it consistently. Yeah, we've been enjoying it. We've been watching just listenership grow. Yeah, it's awesome. This has been a great first year. Welcome to year 2, Dennis. I can't believe we didn't talk about that at the very beginning.
No, I can't believe I didn't either. We're in season 2. This is officially, we've been doing this when this drops.
You brought it up like every week for like the last month that we're almost there, and then we get to it.
And I just completely slips my mind. I know. Well, yeah, our anniversary, February 11th.
You got these Navy patents all going through your head. You're just raring to go. That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah,
well happy anniversary, Dennis.
Happy anniversary. I didn't get you anything.
I didn't get you anything either. Technically, we still have Christmas presents to give each other.
I got you. I didn't even do the show, I promise. Well, yeah. This is like worse than an anniversary gift.
That's par for our relationship.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm always letting you down.
That's true.
So we're going back a year. One of my favorite publications, The War Zone, which I encourage people to read. They do military reporting. Has basically been trying to crack the case of what's going on with all these bizarre patents that the Navy has been filing the last few years. So let's start back from an article in January 2020. It reports that the War Zone has been deeply reporting on a set of bizarre patents assigned to the U.S. Navy. The patents, which are all the product of a single inventor, which makes this even weirder, truly sound like the stuff of science fiction and include high-temperature superconductors, gravitational wave generators, compact fusion reactors, and high-energy electromagnetic field generators. Yeah, and it's really weird. This all comes from this one scientist who we're going to get into briefly.
Back to when we did the U.S. patent, wasn't one of the U.S. patent ones that got locked up like a UFO or something?
Yes, and that was actually going to be my next sentence. The most radical. Yeah, no, that's fine. The most radical of these inventions is what they describe as a hybrid aerospace underwater craft.
Huh, like something that could shoot in and out of the ocean and fly up into the air at crazy fast speeds.
Yeah, they're patented, and when you put these together, from the wave generator to the fusion, they basically
Are we the aliens, Dennis? Are we the aliens?
We're trying to be at the very least, but
yeah.
I mean, they're trying to get ahead of China here. It seems like they call them the UFO patents because these are all the pieces you would need to build a UFO, and the hybrid aerospace, that basically is a UFO. I mean, we see these
I'm not an engineer, but based on that list you just gave me, I would be like, oh, building a UFO? You're some sort of a supervillain? One or the
Somebody
other?
building a UFO? Yeah.
Both?
So this was, this had re-hit the news just a few days ago. but the war zone was on it with their freedom of information request back in 2020 and even before that. So this
Good for them.
hybrid,
That's awesome.
yeah, so this hybrid aerospace underwater craft is claimed to be able to, quote, and this is the headline we had this week, quote, engineer the fabric of our reality at the most fundamental level.
Well, that is a terrifying sentence to hear about your Navy.
Yes, and
Or anybody,
it's,
really, but the military
oh yeah, we're messing
shaping the
around.
fabric of your reality.
Yep, space
Are we in an
engineering.
episode of Black Mirror? Is that what's happening?
Well, it's the future. We're getting to the future, man. I mean, there's some of these super weapons are. This one isn't even the most scary one. Towards the end, we'll get into what I think is the scariest
Oh,
one.
good. It's been a while since you've scared me on this show or upset me.
Oh,
So,
this. I'm glad the U.S. is doing it. I hope. I mean,
well, I mean, yeah. If you're gonna,
but I mean, I'm going because I live here, basically. I,
well, yeah, you're rooting for the home team a little bit there, but I mean,
this freaks me. The fabric of reality thing freaks me out. Though, like, I'm one of those types of guys who like
are
when
you
they
gonna
turned.
explain more about what that means?
Yeah, okay, we'll get into. Okay, so the way
Okay.
it does that is by they say, quote, seemingly bending the laws of physics as we know them. Now,
Okay,
to,
yeah, that's as terrifying as I could possibly think you meant by that.
and we'll get into. I mean, this stuff sounds like science fiction, and it's really it's questionable. We'll get into it's questionable whether or not any of this works, whether or not it's complete disinformation, whether or not this scientist is kind of a huckster, or like what's going on here.
Yeah, all
It,
right.
he seems to be like a Nikolai Tesla type figure, though. I mean, like to patent all this stuff from one dude is just unheard of.
Well, and that they're not silencing him is also
No. So okay, so
that they're pushing
together.
this forward. I don't know. Just I'll let you explain it to me and tell me what's going on before I start jumping to any conclusions.
Oh no. Well, okay. So together, these patents seem to be the building blocks of a vehicle with truly out of this world UFO-like performance. As part of Warzone's reporting, they have been working to better understand the mind behind this mysterious intellectual property. And as of January 2020, Dr. Salvatore Cesar Paez, or Pays.
Wonderful job with the pronunciation. As
Thank you.
somebody who's very jealous of you right now, based on how terrible I pronounce people's names.
So this is the
That
guy
was nice.
if you want to Google him, everybody, Dr. Salvatore Cesar Pais, Pais. Um,
And Cesar's
finally,
with a Z.
yes, finally actually wrote back to the war zone in an email. So
He
let's
did
get
it.
into. Yes, he did. We'll get into that.
Oh,
This was last year. So, and we'll get into that a little later in the show. But I
I'm
just wanted to
liking this
know.
Warzone stuff. This is good stuff.
Oh yeah, you got to check it out.
That
It's
they
one
did
of
all
like
this through Freedom of
three or
Information Act.
yes. It's kind of like the Black Vault, but I don't know. Just focus on military stuff.
Very cool.
Um, so he's a real guy. People questioned if he was even real for years. Salvatore Cesar
Well,
Paez,
he's been hiding out in his UFOs, man. He ain't.
yeah, he received his PhD in mechanical and aerospace engineering from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. He was a NASA graduate research fellow. He worked at the NASA Research Center in Cleveland. Let's see here. He was a general engineer for advanced concepts with Northrop Grumman Aerospace Systems, where he's currently with the Department of Defense, Department of the Navy Strategic Systems Programs. So not only is he real, he
And
keeps
that's
getting.
verified credentials.
It's his biography from the patents.
Oh, okay. So if anybody's gonna know how to build a UFO, it's gonna be Cesar Paez or
Yes,
Paez.
he uh, he has advanced knowledge of theory, analysis, and modern experimental and computational methods in aerodynamics, along with an understanding of air vehicle and missile design, especially in the domain of hypersonic power plant and vehicle design. He has a Wikipedia page. He's published stuff as far back as the 90s in auto engineering like publications. Um, he has expertise in electropics and emerging quantum technologies, particularly in laser power generation area and high energy electromagnetic field generation besides. Condensed matter physics, such as the emerging breakthrough field of room temperature superconductivity as related to advanced field propulsion. So and he's done a bunch of other stuff too. He actually works for that strategic department, strategic systems programs, doing other stuff. So he's a real guy. Apparently, all this comes from his mind. He's either, in my opinion, he's either like the Nikolai Tesla of our
He
age.
sounds like a genius.
Yeah, he's definitely very smart.
Like an engineering genius. Like messed with cars, was doing stuff with rockets. Basically anything that will go and is in some way mechanical, like he's good with it.
Yes, he's like a prodigy, and he definitely, and he's very highly educated. He's like somebody out of a James Bond movie, though.
I don't want to point that out of, but yeah, he sounds like the scientist that like the villain's using in like a Batman comic, or James Bond,
or like Doctor Strangelove or something. It's just when you think about advanced technologies, you don't in 20
is the villain. Yeah.
In this century, like when is all this? What if anything is invented by one person? You know what I mean? It's usually like a combined effort of like.
I mean, not necessarily like with something like a vehicle of some sort.
That's true. Yeah. So, despite his patents,
you can see it's weird seeing somebody. I mean, not weird, but it's rare seeing somebody with this level of diverse expertise that they would be able to put together to where they could, as one person,
make a UFO.
Come up with something like this.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why you're like, yeah, it seems like he is a team of people. Like, based on that list of things he's done and been involved in, he is the team of people.
You would think, like, I mean, literally, he claims to have invented a fusion reactor, which would change, we'll get into each one of these inventions, but I mean, that alone would be a lifetime of work. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's so
again, unless you're unless
you're a genius.
Like, think of all the stuff Tesla did. I mean, if you look at like the great inventors, like they didn't just invent one awesome thing; they usually invented a bunch of awesome things.
Right. Yeah, I think he might be that level of mind. Either that, or he's just the guy they picked out of a hat to patent all the stuff they have from UFO crashes.
I mean,
and they're like, Cesar,
you're the guy.
You're the guy, man. You're going down in history, baby. So, despite these patents sounding extremely far-fetched, official documents show that the chief technology officer of the U.S. Naval Aviation Enterprise personally attested to the reality of these inventions and their importance to national security and peer state competition. In appeals, let me silence my phone.
Way to go, buddy.
Thanks. So, anyway, so in appeals to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, so some of these actually, the patent office didn't want to patent them because they're like, well, that's impossible. You can't patent something that's impossible.
So it took the head of the Navy coming out and being like, look, it's real, you guys. We need patents on this.
Yeah, they had to appeal some of this just to convince the patent office to even let them do it, and that's why some people.
This is all very real. Then this is, or you're right. I guess it could be disinformation.
It could be disinformation to make our enemies think we have these like super weapons. But they convinced the patent office, so they believe in it enough to fight that battle. So, meanwhile, the scientists and physicists.
It is a weird bluff if it's a bluff.
Yeah. I mean, it could
be... Like, of all the weapons you could talk about, that's a weird one, kind of.
Yeah, to be like, we have a UFO. Yeah. Or we could build one, yeah.
Well, I mean, everybody's seeing them at this point. Like, it's kind of hard, with all the cameras and everything now, it's kind of hard to argue with how much evidence there is out just on video now.
I mean, it makes you wonder when you see sightings, like, is that them or us,
Oh, yeah. The more we do this show, the more I wonder, like, well, is that just a military thing flying around, or is that something extraterrestrial? You're right.
Yeah. So Warzone talked to a bunch of other scientists, and almost everyone they talked to made it very clear that they find this absurd.
Really?
Yeah, they say this is not grounded in science or scientific fact. Um, so that adds to kind of the mystery of here of like what's going on. But at the same
Well,
time, oh, go
to,
ahead.
to put it back in terms we were kind of trying to discuss earlier, do you think when like Tesla told people his ideas, do you think like even his peers, do you think they thought it sounded possible?
Oh, I'm sure the majority of people said that's crazy. Yeah,
So I don't know.
right. I mean, anything groundbreaking, I guess, is going to be called crazy at first. So
And if you're just way smarter than everybody else, I don't know. I'm in Salvatore's corner this week. Usually, I'm the pessimistic guy that's trying to shoot holes in things.
I'm kind of in Salvatore's corner too. I
I
want
don't
him
know
to.
what about this story, but yeah, I'm just kind of I think it's I so far. I just yeah.
I
I
want to root for him.
just and based on everything, I'm like, this is a again back to the this is a really weird bluff. If this is a bluff from the Navy, like
Yeah, we have the Warner Braun of our age, and he's cranking out these UFO inventions.
I mean, basic. I don't know. Also, why would you? I don't know the patent thing. I just think you'd start claiming that what we're seeing is like that's our stuff. Like you know what I mean? Like why would
Mhm.
this seems like a lot of extra legwork for something that is not possible. Why do you need even patents on something to scare your enemies? Back to that point.
Yeah, and they're fighting it out too, right? I mean, they could just drop disinfo and say, "Oh yeah, well we're
Yeah,
not going
that's
to
us.
comment
That
on
thing,
those
this
crafts."
this video is us. The Nimitz encounters that was actually our stuff.
Yeah,
Those
right.
pilots didn't know it, but that was actually those Tic Tacs were ours.
They don't have to get in like a battle with the trademark office to be like, "No, you're going to patent this."
That's what I mean. Like if it's a lie anyway, this is it seems like a long way to go.
And Warzone does note that, as crazy as some scientists say this matches up with decades of government research that we know they've been doing into
Yeah.
similar technologies and concepts. So while these are obscure ideas and they remained on the edge of science, this isn't like brand new ideas. So all of this has led many to wonder what exactly is going on with these patents, and a multitude of questions remain unanswered. Are the Salvatore Pais patents simply proactive, hoping to get ahead of the game for when these technologies actually become feasible? Or are they part of a misinformation campaign designed to lead America's adversaries on a fruitless wild goose chase? Or could they be an attempt by the US Navy to try to emulate seemingly unexplained craft with incredible capabilities that its personnel have encountered? Could the Navy really be on the verge of changing human technological progress as we know it? Or maybe they even represent a breakthrough that has already occurred. Then again, could they be just a flimsy product of a persuasive and imaginative inventor and his gullible Navy bosses? So those are the options, basically.
I mean, okay, I hadn't really thought about the last one.
Well, he's kind of a huckster that he kind of just gets all excited about his own work and then he somehow sells it to people.
It seems like a again big sell to get the main guy in the Navy to come out and be like, "No, this is real." Like you'd think you'd have to see some, and with just stuff we've done on this show, like we did those UFO looking things, like in the Nazi one where the U.S. had the turbine
Hmm.
thing that they've been trying to do this. Like I don't think this is a gullible thing. I think this is probably a workable thing based on just what we've researched on this show alone.
And that whole spinning turbine thing actually is kind of similar to one of his inventions.
I didn't look
So,
into who invented that.
so yeah, the Nazis, one of them Nazis, basically. Um, so the one person they note that who could actually know the answers to these questions is Dr. Pays himself. So Pays recently, back in 2020, published a new academic paper in the IEEE Transactions on Plasma Science Journal.
Oh yeah, we all get that, right?
Oh, I get it. Yeah, regularly. Detailing his work on his plasma compression fusion device. That device, the patent for which the war zone previously reported on, is a compact fusion reactor claimed to be capable of creating a net energy gain, a breakthrough that would revolutionize energy production if truly feasible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right there, You've
That'd be really big.
Yeah, you would fossil fuels. I mean, basically any other type of energy production would be
Yeah, because you'd have this
worthless.
perpetual thing basically.
Right, exactly. So the paper also contains the headshot of Dr. Pais, which we'll put up on YouTube, which confirms a picture purporting to be him found on a Chinese news blog that has been included in previous reporting. So
So
up
he put up a
until
picture of himself.
the actual, yeah, the new article that and that's where I got his biography from. Um, so prior to
And
this, there was
there
only
hadn't
one.
there. So wait, hold. So there hadn't been a picture out until now of what he looked like.
Prior to 2020, there was one picture on a Chinese
You didn't
blog,
have a
and
Facebook or anything. Well, I
people
guess if
thought it
you're
was fake.
inventing all this stuff, you don't have Facebook.
No,
What am I talking about?
this dude's deep,
You're
deep,
not
deep.
wasting any time. You got things to invent.
And even that first picture from the Chinese blog, people don't really know if it's real. So this guy's kind of like a legend, a myth. Um,
Mm.
so the publication that he did back in 2020 states that he's no longer with the U.S. That he had moved from his prior position to the U.S. Navy Strategic Systems Program. And according to its website, the SSP covers, quote, the entire spectrum of activities from research, development, buildings of hardware, training of crews, and construction of facilities through the continued operational support. And they do America's Trident submarine launch system, our nuclear systems in the sea. They do our Ohio class and our future Columbia class nuclear powered submarines.
I mean, that would make sense that you would move this guy there.
Yeah, that's where he
If all
belongs,
this is
basically.
true, that would. I mean, that again sounds crazy, but for this guy, it
Right.
sounds like a logical. Yeah, he'd totally pop in there and invent some stuff real quick, and then pop back out.
Yep,
He'd be there
exactly.
like 2 months. He'll have this whole thing figured out for you.
He'll get you a new submarine that will also fly.
Yeah, it'll also be able
Um,
to take off. It'll never need any kind of energy source because it'll have like nuclear fission.
oh yeah, nuclear fusion.
Yeah, or fusion. Yeah.
So in 2018, the SSP announced it was developing a new, quote, prompt global strike weapon, which consists of hypersonic glide body on top of a rocket booster. The submarines or surface ship could launch and could potentially reach any target on Earth within an hour.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, that is terrifying. It remains unclear whether if any of Dr. Pais's prior work has migrated to his new position. But from the sound of the correspondence that Warzone had with him, it seems that it's very much he's very much in a separate field of study at this point. His transfer to another research arm of the Navy is also puzzling. If his patents were relevant, feasible, and in some of them were actually in testing, as we know, as the Naval Air System Chief Technology Officer assured the Patent Office, why would you stymie the effort by transferring him to a different unit? So that kind of adds to the mystery. And it's also worth noting that well-established trend in the U.S. military making use of the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951 to file patents unavailable for public viewing, under which the Navy has been the most prolific filer since 2017, which is when they started testing Pais's ideas. And it seems particularly notable that Pais's patents, which according to top Navy officials were of major national security interest, were filed publicly, though that reason remains elusive. So I included a chart here of the basically all the Department of Defense um, filings, and the Navy just wipes everyone out of the water. In the last 5 years, they filed 55, which is more than the Army, the Air Force, and pretty much the rest of the Department of Defense combined. But for some weird reason, they filed his publicly.
Yeah, that is a little weird. I mean, that's very weird based on what what is normally happened with these passes we talked about, before. That
Yeah, and
Invention Secrecy Act, they don't like to any of this to go public at all. Like they hush hush as much as possible, as quickly as possible.
no, but for some reason, it seems like they want his work to go public,
Yeah.
which is odd considering that this would be I mean, I don't know what these 55 secret inventions are, but actually, I'm sorry, it's not 55. I misread this chart. They have filed in the last 5 years, 2015 through 2019. They did 70, 120, 160. They did 210 inventions,
Oh wow.
which really blows everyone out of the water. I mean, for reference, the Army is in second place, and they only filed, let's see here, 55, 70. They only filed 90. And those two blow everyone else out of the water. Everyone else is like one or two a year, maybe.
Yeah, they doing some stuff.
Yeah, the Navy's doing some stuff.
Well, both of them have had, I would argue, the most involvement with extraterrestrials in some form.
Well, yeah, I'd argue the
As far as
Navy's
UFOs.
number one, and then I'd say probably the Air Force would have to be number two, right?
They're
I mean,
seeing them, but they're not so. I don't know. Like all the old stories, like a lot of stuff involves like army bases and stuff.
yeah, that's true.
So like it seems like Army has a lot of involvement because they're on the ground with them living or living near essentially, and for whatever reason, Navy. Maybe because of the
Yeah,
water
I
element.
think the Navy, because they cover most of the Earth,
Yeah, that's
and
true
also
too.
these UFOs appear to be watercraft as well.
Yeah,
They
coming
go
in and
in,
out
they
of the
go in and
ocean
out
a
of the
lot.
ocean, right?
So you would think if anybody's going to be seeing them a lot, it's subs floating around because they're going to pick all that stuff up.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard of a submarine encounter with UFO. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah,
But I mean, Nimitz, that was obviously an aircraft carrier.
aircraft
Um,
carrier and then jets. Yeah.
so the war zone reached out to the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, NAWCAD, and the U.S. Navy Office of Information to request more information about Dr. Salvatore Pais' patents and a formal interview with Dr. Pais. So far, they were denied opportunities. However, Dr. Pais did respond to a few questions directly by email. And his replies only add to the curiosity and mystery surrounding these alleged wondrous technological breakthroughs.
Okay, so this is an email. Nobody talked to him on the phone. Somebody wrote
Nope.
an email. Okay.
He hauled off and wrote kind of a long email. We'll get into it.
Okay.
So they asked Dr. Pais to clarify his background, a little information, and much confusion surrounds his identity. And he would only state what is already public record, which is that he graduated from Case Western Reserve and got degrees in 90, 93, and 98, all in mechanical and aerospace engineering, and then adding, more than this, I cannot comment. Thank you for your consideration. So this guy's like a mystery guy. There's like no record of this guy. Everything comes from these patents or publications. Like you said, he doesn't have a Facebook.
Like a secret inventor for the U.S. Navy.
Yeah, I mean, this guy takes his job pretty seriously. So they
Well,
asked,
I mean, if you're
yeah,
doing all this, there may, I mean, if it's real and you're doing all this, there may, I would assume, security
oh yeah, I'm
issues
sure
with
nobody knows where
not
this guy
letting
lives.
anybody know too much about you because a foreign country may try and abduct you.
Yeah, you don't want China to black bag you. Um,
Yeah.
so they asked Dr. Pais if he could comment on his patents, and he sent the following reply. The fact that my work on the design of a compact fusion reactor was accepted for publication in such a prestigious journal should speak volumes as to its importance and credibility, and should eliminate or at least alleviate all misconceptions you or any other persons have in regard to the veracity or possibility of my advanced physics concepts. Mr. Tingley, do you realize, that's the name of the reporter who messaged him, do you realize that my work culminates in an enablement of the Pais effect, an original physical concept? The Pais effect comprises the generation of extremely high electromagnetic energy fluxes, and hence high local energy densities, generated by controlled motion of electrically charged matter from solid state to plasma states, subjected to accelerated vibration and or accelerated spin via rapid acceleration transients. Such high energy EM radiation can locally interact with the vacuum energy state, or the VES. The VES being the fifth state of matter, fifth essence, or quintessence, In other words, the fundamental structure, foundational framework from which everything else, space time included, in our quantum reality emerges.
Whoa.
Yeah, the engineering of the Pays effect can give rise to the enablement of macroscopic quantum coherence, which, if you have closely been following my work, you understand the importance of. I must stress that all this work, patents, patent applications, and technical papers, was conducted while I was a naval employee, and that my current position with the Navy SSP has absolutely no bearing or in any way, shape, or form has anything to do with his advanced physics work. Thank you for your interest in my physical concepts and try to keep an open mind in regard to my work. Respectfully, Sal. And then he like weirdly dates his email. He signs his email with his full name and he adds ADMMXIX, which is Roman numerals for 2019 AD.
Well, you know what? That doesn't surprise me based on how lofty this guy. He literally just said he made this thing as a side project to his normal work at
He
the end of
did.
that.
He
Like,
did. He's
this doesn't
and
even
he's
have anything to do with my Navy stuff. This was just something I was tinkering with on Saturdays.
this is yeah. He's like, I just figured out a way to mess with the foundation of reality. Is what he's
I've been
saying.
drawing this on cocktail napkins for like the last 3 weeks. I finally put them all together, filed some patents. They're letting it go through
So I
based on
never.
all the better UFOs I've already made for them.
Yeah,
Or
it's
who knows?
this is a mystery, man. I'm gonna keep an eye on this. I kind of let it fly under my radar the last couple of years, but yeah. So this email from Dr. Pays makes it clear that the inventor stands fully behind the science underlying his inventions, as radical as they may sound. As we have explored in previous articles on his work, all of the patents stem from what the inventor is now calling the Pays effect. So he named it after himself. The controlled motion of an electrically charged matter from solid to plasma states, subjected to accelerated vibration or accelerated spin.
I mean,
So
I'd
this is
name that
a
after
whole.
myself too.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure. If I came up with that, yeah, that's getting my name on it.
So despite Dr. Pays' insistence that the Pays effect is indeed a real phenomenon, and the assurance of the Navy's chief technology officer gave to the patent office, we're unable to find a single scientist or engineer who can corroborate the claims made in Dr. Pays' patents. Although you really think they're going to patent the whole darn thing, some of the secret patents have to be pieces to this.
Probably.
They're probably patenting like the general idea that some of the stuff they use to make it work is some of those 220 secret patents is what I'm guessing.
I could see that there's missing pieces that make all this actually come together and be possible that aren't public. They're just
Right,
kind of showing all the again, that would make sense to almost confuse the scientific community.
right, and foreign powers, and maybe that's why they do these publicly. Is it's both real and misinformation.
Yeah, because in reality, they actually have all the patents now in place to do this, and nobody else can. Because if it ever comes down to it, they've got those hidden patents that they can pull out when somebody does catch up. Be like, nope, that's our thing.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking.
That
Um,
makes the most sense if that's
so
the case.
um, in his email, Dr. Pays also assured the war zone that, quote, as far as the doubting subject matter experts are concerned, my work shall be proven correct one fine day. Um, so let's put this into context. So his most recent patent, as of the 2020 article, and academic publication, was for plasma compression fusion device. And the war zone spoke with Carl Willis, a nuclear engineer and reactor supervisor at the University of New Mexico, who also serves as a senior research engineer for Veris Research, a company that's working on an advanced dense plasma focused fusion neutron device for the Army. Willis says the Veris does not view this patent as a competitive approach to a fusion power plant or a competitor in any meaningful sense toward anything Dr. Pays is working on for that matter. According to Willis, Dr. Pays' most recent work represents a, quote, Classic case of pathological science. Willis says the literature for the plasma compression fusion device contains invented jargon, nonsensical statements, weak or absent evidence of an informed theoretical basis, and an overabundance of nebulous adjectives and adverbs instead of meaningful quantities in technical writing. And lots of statements made in passing that seem to contradict basic accepted laws of physics. So,
All right. Well, when you put it like that, now I'm kind of back to doubting Sal a little bit.
but why is the Navy going to bat for this guy?
That is a little weird. I mean, that's definitely weird. I don't know.
So Willis says that Pais, he just does a smackdown here, Pais. He says that Dr. Pais references subjects that have consistently been plagued with pathological science and popular misunderstanding for decades, such as vacuum energy. It's hard not to suspect he's either drinking the Kool-Aid himself or just chumming the waters for the kind of people who do. Still, even Willis notes that, quote, this case is mildly unusual and that the author has a PhD and is employed by the government. His patents are assigned to the government, and the paper is slated to appear in the widely read journal that we'd referenced earlier. However, these facts in no way temper Willis's view that this is all basically nonsense, and it just raises additional questions about the particularities of this case. So to help answer these questions, Warzone went to Dr. Charles Collette, who's an assistant professor of physics at Muhlenberg College, who specializes in experimental low temperature research on the quantum state of molecular magnets. So like most physicists that they talk to about Pais's patents, Collette remains skeptical. While he admits that the theoretical basis for the so-called Pais effect is not outlandish, and indeed any charged matter that's undergoing a large amount of acceleration will produce this, he notes, and that there's likely significant engineering challenges in creating a device capable of producing such high electromagnetic forces. So that's where I get into my secret patents. I'm guessing that basically this guy's saying, Collette's saying that this is possible, but it's a huge engineering feat to actually get material capable of doing it.
Yeah, unless there's like you're saying, unless there's already a patent for the piece that you would need to actually make this spin that fast or whatever.
Right. So Collette concluded by adding the claims of macroscopic quantum coherence seem dubious, and that he cannot see how the interaction could lead to any claimed effect. Overall, his impression is that while there may or may not be an interesting engineering feat in the patents, the rest of the claims are extraordinary. And he continued, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Well, Collette, you're probably not going to get that, because if the Navy has has stuff capable of doing this, that's
well, if they're coming out publicly though, or letting it come out publicly like this, that's probably because they're getting ready to try and show something.
Or show something. Yeah.
Like publicly something's getting ready to be used or come out, or they want to start using something publicly. That there's, I don't know. Again, back to, is this real or is this disinformation or whatever?
Right. Now, as far back as so this kind of raises questions. I note that the intended target of these patents might be, in fact, not the scientific or aerospace communities, which those communities call these pseudoscience or empty jargon, but it might be basically a PR attempt or some kind of misinformation. But as far back as 2001, the Commission on the Futures of the United States Aerospace Industry, which was formed by President George W. Bush and the Congress, concluded that in the longer term, breakthrough energy sources that go beyond our current understanding of physical laws, such as nuclear fusion and antimatter, must be credibly investigated and practically pursued. So we've been after this for a while, and they note that maybe
20 years now,
yeah,
for sure.
So they say maybe these patents by Dr. Salvatore Pais are a beginning attempt at the realization of a very long-term goal. But then again, numerous subject matter experts have suggested they may represent something misleading, misguided, or misappropriated. Regardless, even with so many questions, we do know one thing for sure, that Dr. Pais is a true believer in his own work. So let's hop forward to the news this week.
Okay.
Because basically, what I found by reading this is that they've kind of attempted after that 2020 stuff to kind of tamper down talk of this. And they said that they did put money into it and they could neither confirm or deny if it worked, they didn't see this or whatever, but they're still plugging away with these patents. So um, after a year and a half of reporting on the bizarre Navy UFO patents by Dr. Salvatore Pais, the war zone has finally gotten a on the record comment from the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, NOCAD, about the scientists' seemingly out of this world work and the service's equally strange outright support of it. As covered previously, which is what we just covered, the science and technology branches of the Naval Aviation Enterprise and NOCAD took the theory of Dr. Pais seriously enough not just to vouch for them at the highest level to patent examiners, asserting Chinese advances in similar areas of research and that they were, quote, operable in nature, but also subsequently invested a significant amount of money and time into researching the Pais effect, the theoretical concept for generating high intensity electromagnetic fields. Specifically, the Navy has now responded to inquiries related to the new documentation uncovered in more recent reports that show hundreds of thousands of dollars went into Pais's high energy electromagnetic field generator experiments, along with other details related to it. So they tested the high energy field generator from October 2016 through September of 2019.
So for 3 years they tested this thing, basically. Okay.
Yes, and then went to bat and said it was operational in nature. This
Okay.
actually seems pretty low. They only spent $500,000 on this.
That seems extremely low.
And of the $500,000, $460,000 was salaries.
Ooh, okay.
They literally claimed to have only spent $45,000 on everything else.
That seems weird and the opposite of what all military things.
Right?
I'm confused. Now I'm very confused. This may be the most confusing part of this entire thing you've told me so far.
This entire thing is super crazy. So
this
according
is baffling. So far, it just looks like we're paying people to do nothing.
Right. So
that's 2 years?
That's 3 years. 2016 through 2019.
3 years. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's
$45,000 if you don't count salaries.
So they built like one prototype?
I don't even know how the military does that. It makes you wonder if it didn't work. Now the Navy claims officially that the Pais effect could not be proven, and that no future research has been conducted.
Okay.
And has not transitioned to any other government or civilian organization. Now, the war zone was appreciative for this, what I think is probably misinformation, response to their queries, but it remains unclear why NOCAD was unwilling to speak until now, if they knew all along that these experiments resulted in what appears to be a dead end that resulted in no verification, which is very odd. You think they'd just come out and say that.
Yeah.
And during this entire time, they were arguing with the patent office, saying this is operational. So the latest, as we covered, was that he left NOCAD in June of 2019 and went to work for the Strategic Systems Program Organization. And he, as of this month, February 2021, he transferred to the U.S. Air Force again.
Okay, so as these patents, because when did these come out?
So these patents have been dripping out over the last 3 or 4 years.
All connected to the oh this is with the Air Force now. This is not the Navy.
Well, no, the Navy. He did all this work at the Navy.
Yeah.
So he maintains a job at the Air Force. He keeps getting moved around. But his patents, that work was done with his naval office. So they're the ones that still have the patents.
Okay, but then he goes off and now he's with the Air Force.
Right. Now he's personally at the Air Force. So
Okay.
we still don't know where he was transferred to. This is a man of mystery. We don't know where he is with the Air Force or what he's doing. But his first transfer to the Navy SSP was somewhat interesting, given that one of his most eyebrow-raising patents was for, quote, hybrid aerospace underwater craft. And SSP oversees the development of nuclear armed submarines. So I think they're lying. I think he's continuing his research, and they're moving him. They've moved him from the experimental. Right around the time these patents are getting filed, they moved him from the experimental research branch into the parts that actually maintain craft.
Yeah.
Right, and
Oh
now he's
yeah.
and now
Yeah.
he's with the Air Force. So I mean, I make up your own mind, but it kind of seems like something worked, and they need him to go work on it, actually putting it together.
Or something else similar, or who knows.
Right, or whatever the app. It seems like it moved from experiments to application in some way, and he's moving with it. Either that, or I mean, he's still a believer in it. So
No, I don't know. I don't know that I buy that the Navy invented something and then they hand it over to the Air Force to have them make it. Like the Navy would just make it. The Navy has aircraft. Like if it goes underwater, you know what I mean? The Navy makes the most sense.
yeah, but who knows? We don't know. We don't know what he's doing with the Air Force at all. He
That's
could
what
be
I mean. Like I
he
don't
could
think
be
it's the same.
training them.
I don't
You
think
know.
it's the same thing at all. I think he's doing something different over there.
Oh, Mr. Pays, if you're listening to this, man, I'm a fan. I want you on the show, man.
I'm a
Let's talk.
fan too. I doubt he's
Let's
going to talk
talk.
to us. He's definitely not going to talk to us.
He's definitely not going to talk to us.
No.
So the statement from NOCAD raises questions about why these experiments were funded and supported so extensively by high-ranking scientists in the first place, despite every physicist they've spoken to for the better part of 2 years asserting that the Pays effect has no scientific basis in reality. NOCAD confirmed they were interested enough in the patents to spend more than $500,000 over 3 years developing experiments and equipment to test his theories. So
Again, back to the 400,000 something was 465,000
what
was
salaries?
salaries.
I know this guy might just be bilking the military. Who knows?
I don't know.
So again, he told them back in September 2019 when all these things were concluded. So he was talking a big game after all the tests were done.
Yeah, which that's even odder.
Yeah, it is odder.
If it didn't work and you've been shut down, like I don't know that you're gonna go brag about making a thing that I don't know. Especially if you just
Yeah,
got almost $500,000 out of the government to basically hang out for 3 years.
just talking like Star Trek stuff.
Like I don't know. I don't. And again, the resume speaks a lot.
Yeah, and the fact that he gets, I mean, they say every scientist poo-poos it, but he did get published in a really prestigious journal after those tests were conducted.
Yeah, that's somebody over there thinks that there might be something to what he's saying. Obviously, or he wouldn't have gotten published. That or
Right.
somebody's pay. I don't know.
And that was for the fusion reactor. So,
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's right. That was something different.
so this all is very weird. They say the secrecy and the lack of secrecy surrounding this whole thing is bizarre. But not until we actually get images and data, which we don't have, can we ever really know if this actually worked.
True.
And we might never know because they might just keep it secret forever. So It's been a while. Yeah.
If you're letting all this go out publicly, your plan isn't to keep it secret forever anymore. That was your plan with what you were doing with the Invention Secrecy Act. There's a different plan happening now.
Yeah, it might be some form of disclosure, or this kind of coincided with the rise up to UFO disclosure. Basically, like this might have been their way to partially tamper that and put the idea in people's minds that we have this stuff too. Like we're okay. This whole national defense narrative.
Ooh, that would make a lot of sense. That for when they finally do, disclose fully, is be like, yeah, but some of that stuff's our stuff, so don't worry about it because we got this under control. That would make sense.
Yeah, we're able to defend ourselves.
Okay, for the misinformation or whatever, that argument makes the most sense to me, I think.
Yeah. So this week it came out. This is from Big Think. That among these designs approved in 2018 for the patents is the Aerospace underwater craft of incredible speed and maneuverability. It's a cone-shaped vehicle that could potentially fly just as well anywhere, whether air, water, or space, without leaving any heat signatures.
Whoa.
It achieves this by creating a quantum vacuum around itself, which is a very dense polarizing energy field. And that is basically what Bob Lazar says the UFO at Roswell is. That it creates this energy field and that it basically like pulls, it moves the universe around it instead of moving through the universe. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, but also that makes no sense.
No.
Because how can there be more than one of those things doing that at once then? How does that work?
Oh, Lord, I don't know, man.
Because if they're both moving the universe, like, how does that work? Like, it bends? I don't know. I'm not a physicist. I know neither one of us are going to be able to explain that, but that is the first question that comes to mind when I hear that. It's like,
the way I understand it,
imagine if there were 100 of them in the universe. Now there's 10,000.
Well, let me put it this way. So it's not like so the way I understand it is this, and this could be wrong. So please, commenters, tell me I'm wrong. But listen to Bob Lazar and reading all this stuff this week, and we'll get a little more into it. Basically, here I'll get a little more into it, then I'll explain the way I see it. So it achieves this by creating the quantum vacuum. The vacuum would allow it to repel any molecule the craft comes in contact with, no matter the medium. Manipulating quantum field fluctuations would help reduce the craft's inertia. The polarizing vacuum would dramatically reduce any elemental resistance that leads to extreme speeds, claims the paper. So here's the way I think about it. So a normal engine or something creates power and propels you, right? Mm-hmm. So I think what this does is that whatever direction you want to move, it essentially creates, because in space, you just like, if you just threw a penny out the spacecraft window, it just keeps, because it's in a vacuum, right?
So it moves the universe around you right there, like almost in like a bubble form.
It creates like a vacuum bubble around you, so you're traveling in a vacuum.
But there's no resistance of any kind, so speed is kind of, you could potentially go as fast as you wanted.
Just like we see on UFO stuff, yeah.
Okay.
I picture it like this. I picture it like,
I'm back with you.
You basically create a hole to fall into.
Yeah.
Yeah. You create like a rip in the fabric of reality.
But a hole where you can kind of like have the matter like go around you and then like propel you essentially.
Yeah, you're like falling into reality the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, which
I'm with you.
Bonkers to me. My monkey brain just does not compute. So not only that, if the vacuum creating technology can be engineered, we'd also be able to engineer the fabric of our reality at the most fundamental levels, says the patent. This would lead to major advancements in aerospace propulsion and generating power, not to mention other reality-changing outcomes that come to mind. Among his other patents are inventions that stem from similar thinking, outlining pieces of technology necessary to make his creations come to fruition. His paper presented in 2019 titled Room Temperature Semi-Superconducting System for Use on Hybrid Aerospace Undersea Craft presents a system that can achieve superconductivity at room temperatures. This would become a highly disruptive technology capable of total paradigm changing in science and technology, conveys Pais. Another invention devised by Pais is an electromagnetic field generator that could generate an impenetrable defensive shield to sea and land, as well as space, base military, and civilian assets. So he's created a force field, basically. This shield could protect from threats like anti-ship ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and evade radar, coronal mass ejections, military satellites, and even asteroids. So, as we discussed, his ideas center around the Pais effect. He refers to it in his writing
He
as
created a shield generator.
he created a shield generator.
That's wow.
Yeah, this is bonkers.
I mean, yeah, that's wow. That's that's amazing if true.
Yeah, this might be in some lab somewhere. In less jargon-heavy terms, basically, Pais claims to have figured out how to spin electromagnetic fields in order to contain a fusion reaction, an accomplishment that would lead to a tremendous change in power consumption and an abundance of energy. I'll add the worldwide. I mean, that would just change human history.
Yeah. Oh, in so many different ways, in every way. That would ripple out to just about everything.
Oh yeah, it would disrupt the whole economy.
Yep.
I mean, think about how much, which is probably why it's secret. So believe it or not, though, Patrick, an electromagnetic propulsion system that would allow the Navy to build its own flying saucers may not be the craziest thing to come out of these efforts. According to these newly released documents, another branch of his work deals with the concept of a compact fusion reactor, which, among other things, would allow for the creation of a quote space-time modification weapon.
What?
Per the Navy's own internal documents, such a weapon would, quote, make the hydrogen bomb seem like a firecracker in comparison.
Oh my God, that is the most terrifying thing you've said.
He's created the Death Star laser, man.
Yep. I was like, so that's essentially what I thought. Like, I'm like, so you created a weapon that could blow up the whole planet?
Makes a hydrogen bomb look like a firecracker.
I'll take us all out.
Yeah, this guy's increasingly a Bond villain. I know, this is nuts. And again, this was included in the research.
Okay, this is why you can't get a location on this guy. Like, there's no way. It's amazing they've let him come out to do anything. It's amazing he's not in a bunker somewhere.
I wouldn't be shocked if it's a pseudonym or a fake name or...
Oh, likely, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't have this guy's name on a mortgage because that's a way to find him.
Oh, yeah, no. Nothing's in that guy's name. Not his real name.
So one of the strange sections of the document describes that technicians who worked on these experiments, when they got close, would feel a strange sensation all over their skin as they approached the test articles.
Okay.
At this point, it's impossible to say whether or not the Navy and Dr. Pais have managed to produce anything truly groundbreaking. And indeed, the recent document dump does show, at least as of when these documents were produced, that they're yet to prove or disprove the theories to date. And that's where we're at. We don't have any other information.
I mean,
it's a cluster, man. I mean, we don't know if this is completely fake. We don't know if he's a con artist. We don't know if he's just wrong. We don't know if he's right. We don't know if we have this technology. I'm sure they wouldn't tell you if it worked or not.
This is too much with too many credentials to be all fake. And the Navy's going to bat for...
I kind of think we have it. I kind of think we're building it. We're in the early stages of something.
We're in the final phases where this is getting ready. This is getting ready to replace a whole bunch of jets.
Yeah.
Like, this is getting ready to go mass production, possibly. That's kind of where I lean. If this is all true, like, that's why they're setting this up, is they're about to not use F-15s anymore. Like,
yeah, we're going to have to explain. I think it's interesting that it's like a cone.
Yeah.
We probably don't have the technology to do it full. You know what I mean? Like, we're probably building up to the UFO.
Maybe.
But we're building on what we have now. What we have now are plane shaped things. So a cone seems like a good first step. They were cones.
You
But
know, this is very interesting.
that's what I have for you this week, man. That's what got me sucked in.
Well, I'm glad you went down that rabbit hole with this recent news. Like that was definitely something I wanted to know more about.
Yep. Well, there you have it. I mean, it
I
didn't
have I
seem.
arguably have more questions than I got answers. I think at this point,
That's what
as is
everyone who
true with a lot of
researches.
this stuff.
That's what everyone who researches this says. Is basically it just creates more and more questions. Like, it's a mystery. But I suspect that we'll. I just have a feeling we'll hear more about this. I think that this is stuff's gonna start leaking out, or there's gonna be more, or like you said, they're just gonna come public with it and be like, "Here's our magic cone." Um,
Maybe, yeah. It seems again as we've been talking about for the last year. It
yeah.
really seems like we're building to something very, very quickly. Like we went from denying everything in our lifetime, denying everything and making people feel dumb for saying that it's true
Oh, up
and
to
look
5 years
crazy.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah, to now releasing footage of UFOs, putting out patents. It's just something's. We're on the brink of something.
Something's building, my man.
Man, it's good.
Uh,
That's going to be an interesting week on this show when it finally really, whatever this is, fully breaks out.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If they tell the truth, I mean, I'm getting skeptical of the whole national security thing. I don't know. There's so much to this whole kind of disclosure we've been living through. I'll encourage people again to watch Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, that documentary. But yeah, that's what I got. I mean, it's something's coming.
Yeah, I
Something's
agree.
coming, man. So, well, everybody, thank you for listening. Please give us a thumbs up, give us a rating on iTunes. I want to see ratings
Yes.
wherever you're listening or watching. Leave us comments, ideas for shows. We keep an eye on those. And we have at least a couple that are in works based on comments. And we appreciate you as always. And happy anniversary again, Patrick. What a way to ring in! What a way to ring in the new
I
cryptic
feel like
year.
this was a good one to ring it in. Honestly, like it gets to
Yep.
the heart of this show.
We'll keep a we'll keep an eye out on this. And if you have any information or research this on your own, let us know. So, well, thank you very much.
Thank you for doing it, Dennis. Bye, everybody. Bye, Dennis. Love you.
Goodbye, everyone. Love you too.